What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Pinfalls and Playbooks podcast, episode number 43. As always, I'm your host, Faiz Kabir, alongside my co-host, Farhan Khan. And guys, this week we have a lot to talk about in terms of sports and wrestling. In the wrestling world, we're pretty much leading up straight to Clash in Italy, which turns out to be a massive pay-per-view, PLE technically, going into this weekend. And in terms of sports, we have literally the NBA is wrapping up. The Eastern Conference Finals is already wrapped up. We'll talk about that. The Western Conference Finals is a super competitive series, which is continuously going on right now. And plus, at the end of the show, we're going to have pretty much me and Farden do our little quizzes on each other to see exactly, and it's going to be this week's going to be movie-based, which is going to be great to see. And lastly, we have our sideline heel takes, which I'm excited to get into. But enough talking, let's get straight into this week's episode. All right, guys, first up, we have our wrestling recap, and before we get into our Clash of Italy predictions, we're going to quickly do a little touch-fire quick notes on Raw. And on SmackDown, there was nothing really interesting besides the main event stuff, which is Cody Rhodes and Gunther. They were having a little one-on-one. Actually, it was Cody Rhodes versus Sami Zayn in the main event, which was pretty much building towards the entire show. We had in a competitive match, but Cody Rhodes ended up picking up the victory. Sami Zayn was out there after Gunther pretty much attacked Cody Rhodes, had a chance to help him, but Sami turned his back, leading to a possible Sami Zayn heel turn imminently happening. Well, pretty much is going to probably happen right after this pay-per-view, most likely. But that's pretty much on SmackDown, anything worth of note. But let's quick fire go into Raw, where one of the big things on Raw was Penta and Javon Evans. They had a really good match. Penta continues to show why he's one of the better Intercontinental Championship runs, already better than Dominic Mysterio's run by the title defenses he's doing. Yeah. He also did announce that he's going to be facing Rey Mysterio. We don't know if it's going to be next week or on the AAA show. I don't know if they announced it or not. But Rey Mysterio versus Penta in Italy, that's going to be a hot match to see next week. Next up, we had Logan Paul, who recently just won. Well, they retained their tag team championship on Saturday night's main event. It was apparently a really good match that they had in the main event against Street Profits. But unfortunately, Logan Paul has suffered a torn tricep. He's going to be out indefinitely, which led to Braun Breaker now carrying the tag team title with Austin Theory. So let's see how long that's going to really last, because Braun Breaker is obviously more than a tag team wrestler. He needs to be pushed for the main title. We'll see how that plays out. LA Knight also came out in the middle of the show where he announced the King of the Ring tournament is back, and he entered his name in the tournament. And Jey Uso is probably most likely going to be in that tournament, maybe Jimmy Uso, based on the little back and forth that they had in the ring. And lastly, we had Fatu and Roman Reigns pretty much have a tribal combat conference. Another contract signing. This is like their second one. And this was good. Like, we pretty much had these two pretty much saying that they signed a blood oath. They're not going to touch each other until the match. It was a little weird at the end of the show where they kind of like touched each other's heads. It was a little weird. I was like, all right, whatever.
They got some Samoan gig going on.
Yeah, let's just get into the pay-per-view, which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to have our Clash of Italy predictions right now. So first up, I think they announced the first two matches in the first hour on ESPN. It's going to be Cody Rhodes versus Gunther for the WWE Championship. I'll give my prediction first. Since I think this match is going first, I don't think there's going to be a title change here. I'm going to have Cody Rhodes pick up the W, beating Gunther again. It could be by nefarious means where Sami Zayn could get involved, or Gunther could try to cheat and be a disqualification, pushing this match for another way to happen again. It could be leading to a triple threat match eventually. But overall, if this match is going to be clean and if it's going to be in Italy, we know Gunther's going to be hot, and we know Cody Rhodes is probably going to get booed out there. But at the end of the day, I don't think the WWE is ready to change the title from Cody Rhodes' hands yet. So I'm going to pick Cody Rhodes for this match.
Yeah, I'm going to take Cody Rhodes too. I feel like it's going to be a clean match. I don't think Sami Zayn's going to get involved until the end. If he does get involved, they've been pushing that storyline for a while now. We've seen various backstage segments with Cody Rhodes, with Sami Zayn, and that match is bound to happen. And I like the idea of a triple threat match. I don't know what the pay-per-view after Clash in Italy is.
It's going to be in Saudi, the King of the Ring.
Oh, King of the Ring. So it's probably just going to be like a traditional championship, champion versus champion match. But I think they're just going to set up another Cody Roman at that point. But for this specific match, I'm going to take Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Next up, we have is Rhea Ripley versus Jade Cargill, a rematch for the WWE Women's Championship match at WrestleMania. That happened at WrestleMania, but now there's going to be a rematch in Italy. It's pretty obvious. I think Rhea Ripley's going to retain here. She just won the championship. I know they're trying to push Jade Cargill with her group, but it's just overall just looks like Rhea's going to continue to hold on to this title.
Yeah, I feel like there's no reason for her to lose this title. I know was B-Fab and Mission.
Yeah.
They're probably gonna get involved. I don't know if
It's
anybody.
gonna lead to maybe Charlexa also playing
Yeah,
in
that's
low
true.
moment,
Yeah.
you know.
So Rhea Ripley, she's not gonna lose this title for sure.
Yeah. Next up, we have is Becky Lynch versus Sol Ruca for the women's IC title. Now, they've been teasing this for a few weeks with these two women going back and forth. There's been a lot of botches, actually, in this feud going forward. They did have a match on Saturday night's main event that was non-title, and it was just leading to a lot of botches and just didn't look good that entire match. This is kind of going to be the redemption to try to pretty much forget what happened last weekend and make it a better situation here. Overall, you could put the title on Sol Ruca and push her right then and there, but Becky Lynch kind of just won the title at Mania. Is it crazy to take off the title off of her again? I don't know. I feel like we're going to have a surprise win on this show, and I think this is going to be here where Sol Ruca pretty much gets that push and picks up the championship here.
Yeah, I was going to take the upset and take Sol Ruca. I feel like Jessica Carr, she's going to end up reffing this match as usual. It's a Becky Lynch match. There's no other ref for it, you know? She's going to get involved somehow, and I feel like this is going to be the point break for her and Becky Lynch, where it just costs Becky Lynch the title.
Yeah.
Sol Ruca, she's going to be in the Women's Intercontinental Champion at the end. I feel like if there's going to be a title change on this show, it's got to be this one, really. Realistically, if you think about it. But yeah, I'm going to take Sol Ruca.
Yeah. Next up, we have probably the biggest rematch of WrestleMania that they're calling it. Brock Lesnar versus Obafemi Part 2. So we obviously know what happened in the first match. It was pretty much a dominant squash match for Obafemi, but it was in an effective fashion where Brock Lesnar is now claiming that he is still retired. But he's still saying he's retired, but he still wants to destroy Obafemi. That's the storyline that he's going with here. Obafemi said he's ready to take him out again.
Sure, he said he's trying to kill him.
So we'll see how that plays out. I don't know how this match is going to go, honestly, because it could go either way where Obafemi asserts his dominance again and pretty much beats Brock Lesnar. But in my opinion, if you're bringing back Brock again, there just have to be a third one. So I'm going to pick Brock Lesnar here where he picks up the W. I wouldn't say it's going to be a dominant fashion. Like, let's say, for example, it was flip-flop where Brock squashes Oba. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be a little bit competitive, let's say like within 5 minutes, because it's going to be a little bit for Brock to work and take Obafemi out. But ultimately, I think Brock Lesnar picks up the W, maybe by nefarious means, could be a low blow without seeing. I could see Brock Lesnar take an easy way out just to cause a third match, most likely at SummerSlam, but I'm picking Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I'm going to take Brock Lesnar too. Maybe Paul Heyman gets involved. I feel like this match is going to go a lot longer than the WrestleMania match. You might see a lot of outside, like out of the ring. You might see like people going through the barricade on the side, maybe possibly through a table. But ultimately, if Brock Lesnar is coming back longer term, this is for him to win. So I'm going to take Brock Lesnar in this one.
Right. And lastly, we have our main event, which is Roman Reigns versus Jacob Fatu in tribal combat for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, this match, again, unpredictable in my opinion, because there's a lot of ways you can go about this. Roman Reigns pretty much trying to assert dominance. There's now a caveat to this match where if Jacob Fatu loses, he must serve Roman Reigns, pretty much be his right-hand man that Jey Uso used to be. Most likely that's what people are picturing. But if Jacob Fatu wins, he pretty much becomes the head of the table and leads the whole family and faction. That's going to be an interesting story to see too, because can we see Roman Reigns in a role where he has to follow Jacob Fatu? That makes things a lot more interesting and switches stuff up. In my opinion, I think that's the way to go to switch things up. Let Jacob Fatu pick up the title here, and he doesn't even need to have a long reign. I just think asserting the dominance for him and finally picking up W, because like if you beat Jacob Fatu twice, like it kind of just pushes him to the way back again. But I think this is gonna be a good way to switch up the show and pretty much switch up the entire WWE landscape, especially with them ending the show with this. I know it is Roman Reigns, and obviously he is the main event, but it's going to be a big moment if I do think Jacob Fatu picks up the title. So I'm going to roll with Jacob Fatu in tribal combat, because anything goes in this. Everything's legal. Anything can happen. We could see Jacob Fatu getting help from outsiders. We could see, obviously, Roman Reigns having help from the Usos. That could play a factor as well. But overall, I think the way to go is Jacob Fatu wins the championship here and switch things up. So I'm going to roll with Jacob Fatu finally picking up the championship.
I can't see Roman Reigns personally losing. But then again, when it comes to the bigger picture, what WWE can do with the Bloodline storyline moving forward, it would make sense for Jacob Fatu to win. But I'm going to stick with the old Roman Reigns storyline. I'm going to say he's going to end up picking up the victory. I don't know what outsiders outside of Jimmy and Jay would interfere in this match. There's obviously been talks about other Samoan wrestlers coming up from different promotions and stuff. So I think Roman Reigns holds on to his title at least till SummerSlam. I'm not saying there'll be a part 3 in this because this is tribal combat.
Right.
But Roman Reigns, I think he just ends up picking up the victory the best way he can. He knocks off probably his biggest threat since Cody Rhodes, to be honest.
Right.
But outside of that, yeah, I'm going to take Roman Reigns.
Yeah, so overall, this show is very loaded compared to Saturday Night's Main Event and Backlash. Like, this is 2 different shows night and day, and again, obviously it makes sense. It's an international crowd. They want to give the crowd a massive show, and they're going to deliver it, I think, in my opinion.
I think so.
It's going to be Sunday at 2 p.m., a middle of the day show, which tends to be really good, honestly. Like, they don't really miss on these international shows. So with a stacked card like this, I definitely see them delivering. I could definitely see all of these matches possibly being very good to great, depending on how they want to give them time and how they deliver. But I'm excited for this show, and we'll talk about the results next week when we recap it. But there's a lot of things and a lot of fallout that can happen going into the summer, especially coming out of this massive show.
Yeah, we'll know what to expect leading into SummerSlam based on these matches, because realistically speaking, whoever's on this show is expected to be the headliners of SummerSlam.
Right. But that sums up our WWE recap for this week. All right, guys, next up is our sports recap, and specifically it's NBA, where pretty much we have the Eastern Conference Finals and the Western Conference Finals continuously going on. But the Eastern Conference Finals just came into an end yesterday, where the New York Knicks are now in the NBA Finals by defeating the Cleveland Cavaliers in a 4-0 sweep. Just an absolute massacre.
I mean, we saw press conferences from Kenny Atkinson, from James Harden. They were saying that they were the better team, but they didn't show it. What possibly could they believe that they were the better?
Analytics, right? That's what they're calling
it. Like, you turned the ball over more. You didn't make as much three-pointers. The defense for the Knicks was just overwhelming.
Yeah.
Too many iso ball. I think that's what the problem is for teams that play against the Knicks. When they try to play iso ball, it just doesn't work out. And we saw it last year with the Celtics. They played too much iso ball, shot a lot of threes, and that's exactly what the Cleveland Cavaliers did. So at the end of the day, it's unfortunate that they got swept. But if you look at the bigger picture, they had all opportunities to win game 1.
Yeah.
They choked away a 20-point lead, and they couldn't really get their game going.
Ever since that game.
Yeah. So congrats to the Knicks. I mean, I'm happy for the city, but shit, man. These Knicks fans, they're crazy, man.
They're crazy, but the thing is, at this point, you got to give it up to the damn New York Knicks. They're playing the best basketball I've ever seen them play in my life.
That's true, because they've been playing like the greatest show on turf type of like game. Like,
yeah.
It's I hate to say it, but it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson is literally carrying this New York Knicks team along.
It's not even Brunson.
Right,
it's a lot. McCall Bridges, he finally stepped up from his disappointing 2 games against the Hawks.
Ever since that, he just played very good. Karl Anthony Towns is doing his job as the point forward. Pretty much Mike Brown unlocked that position for him, and he's been dominant ever since that position. Landry Shamet has been knocking down 3-pointers.
Deuce McBride.
Yeah. Those, you know, it's funny. When I was watching the Knicks game, they reminded me of the San Antonio Spurs back then with Gary Neal and Patty Mills.
Yeah.
That's who those two remind me of. Landry Shamet and Deuce McBride. Just crushing 3-pointers left and right. And that's exactly their job. So those two are probably going to get paid this offseason as well. And overall, the New York Knicks are now heading into the NBA Finals.
For the first time since 1999.
Yeah.
Damn, I was 1 year old.
So and it's funny because there could be an NBA rematch from the 99 Finals with the Knicks and the Spurs. Yeah. So we'll see how that plays out. But the New York Knicks have punched their ticket. They're in the NBA Finals. It's most likely going to probably be one of the most watched NBA Finals of all time because of the New York Knicks.
Yeah.
And let's switch over to the Western Conference Finals, where it's complete opposite. It's a competitive game and a chess match.
At this point, I don't know what to expect anymore. It's tied 2-2. And we're going back to OKC. OKC has everything going for them to win this game, but they are without J-Dub, and then we're without AJ Mitchell.
So let's see how that plays out. But the thing is, like, the OKC, they have enough manpower to step up without those 2 players, and we've seen it all season long.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Game 4 real quick, where it was an absolute dominance by Wemby and the Spurs, where it was a huge lead, and the OKC Thunder decided to not play Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the 4th quarter, taking him out, which was a bold move, but all right. In the Western Conference Finals, you want to play a strategy game. That's why I'm calling this a chess matchup between these two. Game 5, in my opinion, is going to be pretty much deciding the entire series, in my opinion. Yeah. So if OKC comes out here with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander delivering a monster performance, they're able to pretty much win the games. And we see with the Thunder, they're able to win games when everyone's contributing, where everyone has at least 10-plus points, whoever's starters and bench players. on the other hand, the San Antonio Spurs are only winning games when Wembanyama's destroying the game. And that's exactly what's been happening. The 2 games that they won, Wemby's been putting up massive numbers. That's the 2 games that they won. So let's see if the dominant star play can defeat the team play, right? But like I said, Game 5 is going to decide it all. This most likely was going to go to 7. Like, I don't see why it wouldn't, right? But for now, these 2 teams, they're heading in to face each other. Whoever is going to go into the NBA Finals are going to be playing against the rested Knicks, and it's going to be very dangerous to see who they play.
I think if the Spurs win this game, I think they win in 6. If the Thunder win this game, it's going to go to Game 7 because I don't think the Spurs will lose at home. I just feel like they just have too much momentum when they are at home, and they know how to play the Thunder. That's something that teams really haven't done over the past couple of years, especially when they won the title last season. So I don't know what the Spurs formula is at OKC this game, but if they could resemble what they did last game, have that defensive mind, because we saw Stephon Castle playing really well, Devin Vassal's been playing really well, and De'Aaron Fox came back, and he's been playing like he's a star, and we know him to be that caliber player. So it's just a matter of if and when the Spurs decide to shut down the Thunder like they have done.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if they win this game, I'd see this game ending in Game 6, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but we'll see by next week, we'll figure out exactly who's going to be in the NBA Finals. And at that point, we're going to give our NBA Finals predictions where it's going to be a massive matchup between the Knicks and whoever it is, the Thunder or the Spurs.
Either way, it's going to be a great Finals.
Yeah, for sure. But that sums up our NBA recap for this week. All right, Farden, stay quiet until you hear a better actor than Tom Hanks. Number 1, Timothée Chalamet. Number 2, Robert Pattinson. Number 3, the new Oscar, Michael B. Jordan. Number 4, Matt Damon. Number 5, Christian Bale. Number 6, Matthew McConaughey. Number 7, Robert Downey Jr. Number 8, Robert De Niro. Number 9, Denzel Washington. And number 10, Leonardo DiCaprio.
I have to take DiCaprio over Tom Hanks. I just feel like DiCaprio, he's a lot more sustenance when it comes to various roles. He can play the serious role. Not saying that Tom Hanks can. He can play the comedic role. He can play the lovey-dovey role.
Yeah.
But Tom Hanks, he's probably top 5 actor of all time, depending on who you ask. But overall, I would say Leonardo DiCaprio. I would take him over Tom Hanks. All right, Fast. Keep 3, cut 5 Leonardo DiCaprio movies. Now, these are movies that I've watched, and I'm 99% sure that you've watched. So if you haven't seen any of these movies, I would say go based off your initial premonition. So your first movie up is a movie that I talked about as my letterboxd, Django Unchained.
I'm gonna cut Django Unchained. I know he had a great role. He played a great villain in that, but I think there's bigger movies and bigger roles that he's played. So I'm gonna cut Django.
All right, your next movie up, The Wolf of Wall Street.
The Wolf of Wall Street is arguably one of his best movies ever, one of the best performances we've seen from a lead actor. I think he should have won an Oscar that year for Best Actor, but I'm going to definitely keep Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay, your next movie up, The Departed.
I love The Departed. That's one of my favorite mafia movies, and this is personal to me, and I'm biased towards that movie. It's one of my favorites, so I'm going to definitely keep The Departed.
All right, your next movie up, The Revenant.
Okay, hot take. I like The Revenant, and I know he won Best Actor for it, but I just feel like there's so many better performances that I've seen personally for him, so I'm going to cut The Revenant.
All right, your next movie up, The Great Gatsby.
The Great Gatsby, good movie. There was a lot of things that could have done better. I know a lot of people didn't like it compared to the book, but I thought it was a great performance as well. Tobey Maguire, in my opinion, was better in that movie, so I'm going to cut The Great Gatsby.
All right, your next movie, Titanic.
Titanic, classic movie, one of his more roles that a lot of people love, but, you know, it's a beginning role, and I obviously do think that there's better roles that he's played in his performances, so I'm going to cut the Titanic.
All right, you have 1 keep and 1 cut left. Your next movie up, Shutter Island.
Shutter Island is one of my favorite movies of all time, one of my favorite performances of all time. It's one of the most great plot twists that we ever seen in movies. I'm going to keep Shutter Island.
All right, so you kept Shutter Island. You kept The Wolf of Wall Street, and you kept The Departed. You cut Django Unchained, you cut The Revenant, you cut Titanic, you cut The Great Gatsby, and your last cut, Inception.
See, like, I knew Inception was going to be on this list, and he was great in that movie, but there were so many other great actors in that movie. So I'm okay with cutting Inception.
No, this is not a bad list. I like this list.
All right, guys, now it's time for our sideline heel take, and finally, I'll let you go first because it is NBA related.
Yeah, so now that the Knicks have made the NBA Finals and the Spurs and Thunder, they are also making the finals, I think we're in a new age of basketball, and I feel like NBA teams, when they have just one true superstar on their team, it's more fun to watch than the age of the super team.
Right.
So, yes, I know I'm a Celtics fan. We technically had a super team when we won it all in 2024. We had Drew Holiday, we had Kristaps Porzingis, among the Jays, Derek White. And that was fun to watch, obviously, for us. But criticism came that the Celtics had to create a super team. And throughout Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's career, it's been nothing but super teams. But when you look at it now, for example, the Knicks, you have Jalen Brunson, who's the superstar of the team. Karl-Anthony Towns, I would say he's a borderline superstar. He's still a star in this league.
He's a star, yeah.
Right, and then you have great role players in Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart. That makes the team go. When you look at the Spurs, they have the superstar in Victor Wembanyama. They have a star in De'Aaron Fox, and they have great role players who are budding stars, potential superstars.
Those guys are stars probably in the few years.
Yeah, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, Devin Vassell. And then when you look at the Thunder, they have probably the best superstar in the league right now in SGA. But you also have a budding superstar in Chet Holmgren. Jalen Williams, when he's healthy, is probably one of the best two-way players in the league.
Yeah.
So overall, when you look at these teams, they have that one superstar surrounded by a caliber of role players that help the team be a great team. So when a team has one superstar, the front office, they can do wonders for the team. They have the assets, they have the financial capabilities to build a team around them.
Right.
And we see it with the Knicks. What did they do? They designed a team that plays well, that has great teammate chemistry at the end of the day. And all of these players, if they rise to the occasion, overall team feeling, it can lead to wins. And prime example is the Knicks. Also, when you look at it from a drafting perspective, when you draft a player that becomes a superstar, it makes the team overall franchise a lot better. It gives them the leverage to keep them for long term. Now, I do also agree that if a superstar is unhappy, they have the right to walk away.
Right.
We're probably going to see it with Anthony Edwards. We're seeing it now technically with Giannis. Kevin Durant, he's been doing that for the last several years. So when the franchise makes smart decisions to build build a team around their superstar, I feel like it's just more fun to watch. And ultimately, moving forward, as we transition into a new age of basketball, we're going to see teams start to develop a player and become a superstar. And once they do that, they have the financial capabilities to give them the great role player that surround them. And it's just going to be better to watch more competitiveness in a game transitioning from having multiple star players on the team. So I feel like in the coming years, we see all of these new young superstars emerging, especially from college, from international. So it's going to be fun to watch. I feel like basketball is becoming a lot more enjoyable. Obviously, people complain about when it comes to things like foul baiting, and obviously we talked about flopping and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when you have one superstar per team, it's just going to make the games more competitive, and at the end of the day, it's better for the game.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. Like I think that's where the NBA is transitioning to, because especially when you think about it, when it comes to salary cap, like imagine like having to pay two star players like that is going to get expensive.
Yeah, like the Celtics, they're facing that drawback now. Granted, they did draft them.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, yeah, if you draft well, and that's obviously kudos to your scouting team, right? But most likely nowadays you're having teams where they develop and they're ready to go other places and pretty much show that they want to be the main guy. We saw that happen with Kyrie Irving with the Cleveland Cavaliers, leaving to go to Boston and want to show that, right? And we're seeing that with a lot of players throughout the league that did that. But we realized that if you're someone that's a star being pretty much developed at that location, you tend to be the main focal point where the team wants to be built around you.
Yeah, like for example, Magic at Paolo, Pistons at Cade.
Yeah.
Trailblazers, if they build a team around Denny Advia, they have a potential superstar in that realm.
Yeah, and for the Mavericks, Cooper Flagg.
Cooper Flagg. Like you also have the older superstars like Devin Booker. We don't know if he's ever going to leave Phoenix. We don't know the status of Giannis. So there's still a lot. Like for example, like the Nuggets, they have Jokic, but they know if they have Jokic on the floor, they can win at any given moment. Right? It's just a matter of surrounding him with talent, you know?
No, I agree completely. So like we'll see that shift in the NBA in the coming years, especially with you have massive stars coming out from college like AJ DeBonsa and other guys that are going to be coming right after him. So I think the crazy thing is like the talent's getting even better in the drafts, which is going to allow the teams to build around that star player like you said.
It's like the new generation of basketball players where they can dribble, they can shoot, they can play defense.
No matter what size they are.
Exactly. So like you have a 7'5" guy with a handle of a wing. It's kind of crazy, and who could shoot like a guard, you know?
Yeah.
Like basketball is in really great hands.
For sure. Let's get on to my sideline heel take, which is wrestling based, and it's kind of pretty much going into the field where a lot of people are in the wrestling fans particularly are saying that where they feel like they complain about predictable booking, but whenever, for example, like WWE or AEW, for example, they take risks, some fans have backlash and feel like this is not what they planned. So it's funny because that is the role of wrestling. Like that's why WWE and AEW always gonna be on TV and always gonna be around because they're trying to build shows to make the fans like it, right? That's the whole game plan. But wrestling fans often say that they want unpredictability, right? That's always the best feeling in wrestling when you see things that don't happen. For example, the most recent thing was Brock Lesnar returning. That was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of like got up on their seats and were like, oh, this is interesting. Let's see what happens with Brock again. Like stuff like that continues to make always wrestling fans go around, right? But when a promotion serves expectations, mainly immediately calling it bad booking in my opinion because it doesn't match their fantasy booking because obviously fans, they have matches in their head or storylines that they want to make come true to reality, but WWE or AEW has ways where they want to build it and they have the bigger picture in play, but it depends on how they see it happen. For example, some of the greatest moments in wrestling was obvious outcomes like Daniel Bryan winning that championship at WrestleMania 30. Everybody knew that was going to happen because they were just building to it. Kofi Kingston, when he beat Daniel Bryan and became champion, everybody knows predictable, but it ended up being a great moment, right? Because you knew that WWE is building to something, right? For example, also another big thing, Cody Rhodes finishing his story. That was playing out for 2+ years. Everybody knew what the end goal was going to be, but it just turns out to be the ride for it. Yes, a lot of people can complain that this is so predictable. I don't want to see this because we know what's going to happen. But that's kind of what wrestling is, right? You want to see what happens and how the stories play throughout it. For example, yet the same fans said that they want fresh stars and unexpected results. You're getting fresh stars, and obviously there's roles where it doesn't pan out. Obafemi's a prime example where he's a fresh star and nobody knows what to expect. A lot of people fear that WWE is going to fuck him up by pretty much making him lose to Brock Lesnar or losing to Roman Reigns eventually. Like, you can't have everyone be dominant from the very beginning. There's storyline building to them, right? Where they can continue to build and be great later on. But whenever a lower card wrestler beats a favorite, social media pretty much gets into play. What is it called? The wrestling internet fans. They pretty much get onto a rile up, and it's obvious that these promotions, they look at those stuff. They care. And we saw that prime example when it was the time for Cody Rhodes to finish his story. The Rock intruded, and it was going to be Rock versus Roman. The entire internet wrestling fans pretty much went up in a rise.
Cody cried.
And they want Cody back and want Cody to finish his story. Stuff like that, unpredictability, but the predictable outcome plays a really good factor to that. But overall, wrestling fans don't know what they want, and that is exactly why WWE is able to run so long because they are and always will be chasing the fans' approval. That's what wrestling is, right? That's why it always gives WWE or AEW a job because at the end of the day, you want the fans to like your product and they're continuing to build storylines for it. It's just how the wrestling world works, but overall, I do think that the fans don't know what they want. And that's exactly why the wrestling business exists because they're giving them product to feel like that they're getting what they deserve.
Yeah, I feel like in the mid-2010s, we were pushed Roman Reigns.
Right.
And people hated it. Like, we saw him be in the top 3, top 4 of like 7, 8 straight Royal Rumbles. He ended up winning the 2015 one. And we saw him win this year, right? But this is a different era of Roman Reigns. But when we saw that in the early stages of his career, we were like, oh, he's just grooming to be the next guy. And
you know what's funny? Like, they knew back then that he was going to be the guy.
Right.
But it just took everyone time.
I feel like the way they pushed him onto people,
Right.
it was a little bit like suspect in that sense. I also feel like WWE, they're scared to give the younger faces like a true push. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
because they feel like if they give him out right away for the front, they feel like they're gonna just be like, all right, it's a huge
Yeah,
drop.
like John Cena just retired,
Yeah.
right? Roman Reigns, we don't know how long he's got left. CM Punk is obviously old, you know, whatever. Seth Rollins, he's getting up there. And you have all these young superstars. You have Braun Breaker, you have Obafemi, you have Ethan Page, you have Ricky Saints, you have, who am I missing?
Javon
Evans, yeah. Trick Williams,
There's a
Carmelo
lot.
Hayes. So if you look at it from the bigger picture, WWE is in great hands. But you're absolutely right. WWE fans, we don't know what we want sometimes. You know, we want.
One of the biggest things that always sticks out to me is that when Daniel Bryan was on that heel run, he used to call everybody fickle. That's exactly what he was always
Yeah.
on the money with it.
Yeah, I feel like what WWE does, obviously a little bit better than AEW, is creating more talent. Let's just say that. We see AEW superstars,
They're established already.
they're
yeah.
established,
Yeah.
right? And a lot of them did come from WWE and other promotions. So seeing the rise in the NXT world, obviously there's various programs in the WWE training facilities down in Florida and stuff like that. It also recommends to what you said in a previous Sideline Heel take, where WWE superstars, they should be given a voice to how they want to pursue their
For
character.
sure, yeah.
And this is a prime example where that can be a good thing for the business. But as you were talking, I had this idea that there's a lot of like unnecessary insiders that expose what's going to happen in WWE. And I think that's
Yeah.
also a bad thing for wrestling, because like we didn't hear about this Brock Lesnar situation. Like a random day in Greensboro or
Yeah.
wherever it was in North Carolina, South Carolina, he just showed up out of nowhere, attacked Obafemi. Everybody was losing their minds. And when you keep these things on the low, it'll create a desire for
Yeah, for
fans to
sure.
watch. So at the end of the day, it's just a matter of keeping things on the low, making sure fans don't get as much as they deserve, but also keeping that interest alive for them.
Yeah, and the thing is, with those news media outlets for wrestling, they kind of view it just like sports media. Like
But
it's their job to report.
But
these
it's
things,
also
right?
now a little bit worse because we're on ESPN. You
Yeah.
know, we've been on Peacock. We've been on NBC. So you have a lot more eyes watching now, and the demand is going to be a lot more.
Sure.
So it's just a matter of WWE coming up with a balance to keep it interesting and also desirable, and not keep it bland to what it was over the last couple of years.
No, I agree. And yeah, we'll see how the fans pretty much react to a lot of the stuff that's going to be coming up this wrestling season, where
Yeah.
it's going to be unpredictable. There's a lot of stories that are pretty much up in the air for wrestling, and they can go with a lot of different storylines for this year, where obviously one of the main things that people want to see this year, Cody Rhodes turning heel, Roman Reigns possibly not being the tribal chief anymore, Sami Zayn finally turning heel, can Gunther be a baby face? Like, there's a lot of storylines that we can see play out, but like we said, it depends on wrestling fans if they know what they want, which they usually don't, and that's why the WWE and AEW have their jobs, because their idea is, at the end of the day, to create a product that we want to see.
Yeah.
And that's why fans tune in every week.
As long as you make it right and just for the fans, it'll be all right.
Right. But that pretty much sums up our Sideline Heel takes for this week and our episode for this week. So next week, we're pretty much going to be wrapping up and talking about the Western Conference Finals. It's going to be probably wrapped up by then. And we're going to talk about our NBA Finals predictions, as well as our Clash at Italy results, and what the story is going to be in the WWE moving forward towards Night of Champions and SummerSlam. But that's going to be our episode for this week. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you guys next week. Peace.